What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? We got a new addition over here at Useful Entertainment. Introducing the Trailer Park Caddy. Want to go down and take a look? I do. So this is the freshly acquired 84 Z28 we picked up 2 hours away, and we didn't drive it home. We had a flatbed at home because the tires that are on it, I'm pretty sure, weren't going to make it. Overall, besides it being dirty right now, it's a relatively clean and straight car, and I'm pretty sure with a simple wash and then a wax, this thing will look really presentable. One spot that it has is right there on the fender. That paint right there is actually cracked up to there. You can flake that off, feather it down, throw some primer on there, block it, and maybe feather in some black paint. Nothing special. Or I could even go the cheap route and just, you know, dab black paint over it. Of course, it's a T-top car. I wouldn't have one any other way, regardless if they leak or not. I'm pretty sure the tires that are on these Keystones are probably as old as the car is. They're pretty dry rotted, and they're only 14-inch wheels, and it's really hard to get decent tires for 14s these days. So who knows, maybe they're only 20 years old, but they're still, regardless, they're no good. This is just going to be fixed up to be a daily. It's got some things that need done to it. A lot of hillbilly engineering that's been done to this car over the years. Previous owners said that the car was a pretty bad hodgepodge case, and he's been trying to reverse engineer it. And this is where I take over and finish the reverse engineering. It's got a, I'll show you a couple of the problems in a minute. Let's see what it looks like inside. Oh no, he put the e-brake on. I wonder if it holds. Anyway, the car originally had... What the fuck? Okay. Car originally had gray interior. The previous owner swapped it. It's got crank windows, which I'm going to try and put electric windows in it eventually. It's got an aftermarket GT Grant steering wheel, which I'd like to replace with the original wheel that came with the car. The speedometer does not work. It jumps around and attempts to work, so we're going to have to figure out what's wrong with the cluster. The steering column is going to need rebuilt. As you can see, it's got about 4 inches of play in it. It is a tilting column though. I'm really leaning towards this cluster is no good. The oil pressure gauge and the voltmeter do not work. Or the temperature gauge and the voltmeter don't work. The gas gauge does work. So the previous owner added an oil pressure gauge and a temperature gauge over there, which worked pretty good. Those toggle switches, only the left switch works. It turns on the electric fan. The other two are open to put whatever I want in there. As you can see, there's the gray headliner from the previous interior. And the roof can't leak that bad if the headliner didn't fall down in this car. But we shall see. Even though it looks like a Crossfire injection flapper hood, it isn't. But I wouldn't mind getting my hands on one of those hoods. But they're somewhat expensive. It's already been $350 swapped. What worried me at first was all this hodgepodge wiring. But a lot of it has to do with the sub that was in the trunk, the electric fan on the radiator. You gotta love how some people delete the ACs on these cars. You couldn't unbolt it. And they put an MSD box in it. I'm definitely going to change out that upper radiator hose. You can see how it's being held on by zip ties to the master cylinder. I'll put the correct radiator hose on here. It came with a spare radiator that's in the trunk. It came with the factory wheels, which will be going on it. As you saw, it's an automatic car. It's still a 700 R4 transmission in it. And naturally, since it's a Z, it's got a posi in the back. But what the gear ratio is, I don't know. Let's fire it up. Before we fire it up, I don't know what kind of spring is on here for the return spring on the carburetor, but it is nearly impossible to push the gas pedal in this car. I mean, you can do it, but it's very stiff. I never knew they made them that stiff, so that's gonna be one of the first things to be corrected. Also, I'd like to have my tranny shop make sure that the detent cable is hooked up correctly on this thing. It's really not bad looking. So I guess this counts as one of YouTube's fetish cold start videos, huh? I'll give it, what, 1, 2, 3, 4. Also, the car doesn't have a choke that works right now. The choke's not hooked up on this Edelbrock carb. Also, the dash pad likes to rattle right now because, hey, it's not bolted in. But look at that, there's no cracks in it. Here's all the stuff that came with it. He had a gauge cluster for like a 91 or 92 Rally Sport, but it doesn't work because, one, I don't like the design, and two, it's an electric speedometer cluster. There's no like physical cable that goes to it. And there's a bunch of other stuff in this box that goes to the car. I got spare interior panels for it. One of the tires is in that trash bag. We got oil pressure. Alright, it'll stay running at this point. As Scott Speed Shop would say, sister kissing tires. Doesn't sound bad. It's got hooker headers, a gutted kitty cat, and a hooker aero chamber muffler on the back. Since it's third gen F-body car, it's one of the mufflers where the exhaust comes back, the muffler sits sideways, and it has two outlets. And an exhaust leak apparently, an exhaust leak I just discovered from the downpipe going into the muffler, which isn't a big deal. It's got a nice snarl to it in between the like pulsation. So is it a perfect car right now? No, but is it a very nice piece to work with, to make a nice car out of? Oh, hell yeah. I say it needs at least about $500 worth of work put into it to make it a very sound, reliable, everyday driver that's not going to leave you stranded. I'm going to get rid of the keystones in the back because, one, because they're only 14-inch rims, and I don't need any more 14-inch mags in my life. And I do like the way the factory wheels look on these cars. So I'm going to put the factory wheels on it with a nice set of tires. Of course, we have to have air shocks in it. That's about it. Runs quiet up here. But this spring, man, I'm telling you, this spring is something else. My dad put the e-brake on, and I wish he didn't, because I'm not sure how it works yet. I asked the previous owner, do you ever use the e-brake in this thing? And he says no. So I didn't put it on in fear that maybe the cables might be frozen. And if he put it on, and they are frozen, now we're in some deep shit here. Oh. I don't know if those are original floor mats or not. If they are, that's cool. Oh yeah, it's got a power driver's seat. I'll give you guys a little bit of an exhaust note. Give me a second. Okay, so as I just demonstrated, apparently the e-brake cables aren't frozen. Thank God. But let me know what you guys think. I was searching for this model here in particular, 82 through 84. I like the front ends on them a lot better. I don't like the 85 redesigned front end on them. And I absolutely hate IROC Camaros. I know some people won't understand that, but I do not like IROCs. I would never own an IROC. And my friends bust my balls and say, oh, here comes Marty and his IROC Camaro. No. But, no. Absolutely love the 82 through 84 models. There's just something fresh and exciting about them for the early 80s. And as they progressed into the mid 80s, they just started tweaking things and making quirks on them that I don't like. I gotta take my air hose out. I gotta blow all this leaves and tree junk out of here. It's all falling down the fender into the firewall. When you guys get a new car, or even if it's your own car and you haven't done it, take the air hose and blow all that junk out of there, man. All that tree shit in there, that's all gotta go. That just likes to rot cars out. It's cold out and we're expecting snow sometime today, and how much snow I don't know, so I'm not doing anything with the car today. But when I do get around to washing it and waxing it, I'm even gonna pull the spoiler off just so I can wash and wax under it, because who knows what junk is under there from over the years. I'm also going to be adding a 3-piece all aluminum original equipment, or basically old stock inner part window louvers to this thing. Not the stupid rainbow ones that go like this across the window, but the old 3-piece that lifts up in the back and it's got the side panels. So that's pretty much all I'm going to change. Put factory wheels back on it, air shocks and louvers. And that's all for the looks. Everything else is strictly mechanical. Another thing I'd like to point out is that electric fan, I just turned it on. The car was getting up around 195 degrees on the temperature gauge. I turned the fan on, and within 30 seconds, it dropped it down below 180. With that fan running, this sucker runs cool. And it's been running for quite some time now. So that's going to wrap this up as the introduction. overall, it's a really nice car. I'm very happy with it. The other thing I didn't mention is it needs everything that needs tuned on it. The carburetor hasn't been really tuned. Who knows where the timing's at? I want to pull all the plugs, make sure they're not fouled out. Like I said, the choke's not even hooked up on this thing. The guy that sold it to me, he put the motor in it, he got it to run stable as it is now, and he didn't really do any tuning on it, he told me, which is fine. I'm glad, you know what I mean? So, I'm sure between me and my dad, we can make a really nice car out of this. So, I'll see everybody later, and as always, stay tuned, like, comment, subscribe. See ya.